convenient, safe, and punctual. Hong Kong boasts its world-class public transport service, which connects every capillary of the city. However, is this widely renowned system equitably accessible to everyone in the city? To find an answer to that question, we cast our eyes on where the greatest demand lies in Hong Kong's public housing estates. Hong Kong secured its place again as the world's priciest residential property market this year, making it one of the most expensive cities around the world. The government has taken action to provide safe housing for everyone in need. It rolled out its public housing scheme as early as 1954, and the plan of new public housing has been an indispensable part of the administrator's annual policy address. In 2021, public housing solved the housing needs of nearly 50% of the city's population. Therefore, this topic matters a lot to our city, not to mention that the public transport system itself is the cornerstone of a city's mobility and livelihood. Alongside our Hong Kong case, we will also conduct a comparative study of Singapore, where there is a similar HDB policy, to see how the two cities differ and how our city, Hong Kong, can improve in terms of public transportation. First, let's look into the accessibility issue. We use the density of bus stops, metro stations, to proxy an area's accessibility to public transport. Then we plot them together with a background layer of public housing estates, where the height of the columns indicates its density. We can draw some intuitive conclusions just by looking at the density map. Public housing estates on Hong Kong Island and Kowloon enjoy a higher density of public transportation, especially the access to MTR. In New Territory, it differs greatly across regions. Housing estates in Tuen Mun, Ting Shui Wai, and Junlang has very good public transport accessibility with an organic combination of MTR, light rails, and buses. However, in areas like Shen Shui and Ma On Shan, access to public transport is more sparse. We can see there is inequality in public transport accessibility across different estates, especially the newly built ones. So, what about connectivity? The first metric we look at is how long it takes to go from city center, which is central in the case of Hong Kong, to each of the housing estates. We make use of a website called Travel Time to generate the isochron data in GeoJSON files. Then we put the files into Kepler to generate maps. The three maps capture respectively the 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and 1 hour range of commute from Central Station. We can tell that 30 minutes is only enough for Hong Kong Island and Kowloon residents and very few New Territory residents. But when it comes to 45 minutes, most of the public housing residents can get home. 1 hour covers almost all inhabited area in Hong Kong. We have to admit that the connectivity is pretty good. The second aspect we look into is how well neighboring regions are connected to each other. We selected 5 housing estates across Hong Kong and mapped the area the residents there could reach within 30 minutes. We can find out that the imbalance is conspicuous to some extent. Next, let's make a quick comparison with Singapore. As we can see from the density map, the bus stop and metro station density is as good as in Hong Kong. But when we look at isochrons, we can find that the reachable areas are more continuous in Singapore. Hong Kong's scattered and changing pattern means that travel time may be greatly increased if you miss an express bus. That's where Hong Kong transport should improve. After doing the preliminary analysis, we have some further research ideas in regard to the topic. We would like to quantify the level of accessibility and connectivity of public transport. Referring to the paper, we can adopt something similar to the PTAL score as Transport for London does. Let's have a simple example. Suppose that within 500 meters of the house and estate, there are in total 8 stops or stations. We give different scores to different mode of transport according to its capacity, and add them up. We can incorporate more factors into our equation, such as fees, frequency, service hours, and so on, to make it a more precise measure. Demand-side analysis can also be carried out. We can collect the octopus card information to see the most used route, including transfers. Lastly, we have some words on the social implications of our project. Public transport is a fundamental issue in urban development. Before more topics could be discussed, there is always room for improvement. With a quantitative measure of accessibility and connectivity, the government can dynamically adjust the provision of public transport to maximize its efficiency. The results can also advise future urban development, such as the location choice of the shopping malls, hospitals, etc., making public services more easily accessible to every public housing resident, and ultimately improve their livelihood.